It gives me great pleasure to welcome Dr. Thomas O'Donnell today to talk about a very timely topic, China's relationship with Iran and its perception of the nuclear crisis. We're very grateful for him to have come down from New York City to join us to discuss this very important topic. Of course, as the international community seeks to step up economic pressure on Iran, China is arguably one of the weak links. The Chinese import about, is it 12% of their oil from Iran? That's according to the New York Times. And in principle, they oppose sanctions. China itself has been a target of Western sanctions in the past, but nevertheless, it has backed several rounds of UN sanctions, most recently in June. And what Dr. O'Donnell is going to look at today is why. Why has China gone from vocally opposing sanctions against Iran to actually voting in favor of them? What are China's calculations? How does China view Tehran's increased regional power? And how does the U.S. fit into all of this? Dr. O'Donnell is a lecturer in graduate international affairs at the New School in New York City. Previously, he taught at the University of Michigan in the Energy and Environment Department, as well as in the Middle East and North African Studies Department, while conducting research in nuclear physics. In fact, Dr. O'Donnell is a nuclear physicist by training and an expert on the political economy of the global energy sector and its implications for U.S. strategy and policy. He spent 2008 to 2009 in Venezuela studying its oil sector as a U.S. Fulbright scholar and a visiting professor at the University of Central Venezuela, and he's presently writing a book entitled One Global Barrel. When will that be out? When can we look for that?
That's how many courses I have.
Okay, soon. Before we begin, though, just a heads up about some of our future events. This Monday, we have Dr. Marvin Weinbaum, one of our scholars and an Afghan expert, and Dr. Carolyn Wadhams at the Center for American Progress, talking about the outcome of the Afghan elections. Both were election monitors in Afghanistan and just returned. The next day, on Tuesday, the 28th, we've got Robert Hunter of RAND talking about building a new Gulf security architecture. And then we have our annual conference coming up, as you all see from the sheets on your seats. I hope you can make it for that. Now, please join me in welcoming Dr. O'Donnell. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that nice introduction, Kate, and thank you very much also for the invitation. This is I've found, whether in this country or the last couple of years in Venezuela, the best way to do research is to get to give a talk on something. And experts come and give you, and they object to what you're saying, especially when they say, "No, I'm the guy who bought Citgo," and that kind of thing. So, in any case, let me get on. Now, what I'm going to do is, there's really sort of three currents to what I'm talking about here. I want to set the stage by my view of how the international energy security system works, and that takes a little while. There's a little bit of history to that. Then the place of Iran in that, and then the place and the interests of China in that, or its interests perhaps not being in that. And then there's the synergy. The synergy maybe will come more with the discussion. The questions of how the Obama administration, it's actually quite interesting, when China so vocally, and for the first time really in that manner, opposed sanctions, yet was actually brought on board. And it's what that means for China's energy strategy. So that's more, we'll see how much time in the actual talk, but at the end, we'll get into that. So let me set the stage. Clicker here. China's angst over Iran. A little more explanatory title is China's angst over the U.S.-Iran crisis and what the energy nexus is here. Right? Well, I don't think I need to tell anybody, but maybe it is interesting to know with all the talk of alternative energy and so forth, this is real data up to somewhere here and then projections. Wherever you go to, the International Energy Agency, the Energy Information Agency, OPEC, everybody predicts that oil will be the primary source of energy for the foreseeable future. So whatever the problems are with it, and we all know what the problems are from different angles, that's not going to change. So last night I had the pleasure of having dinner and a discussion with a number of other academics with the president of Iran, and he answered our questions for a long time. I was really struck apparently he was too. Everybody wanted to know about the nuclear program. I mean, great detail. Can our guys come and work with your guys on your centrifuges? I mean, all sorts of, in great detail. And at one point, now this is my paraphrase for my notes. If this, that's to say the crisis, is all about our nuclear program, then I would like someone please to address here, like ask me a question. Why did the United States side with Saddam Hussein and attack us before there was any issue of a nuclear program? I mean, he's talking about the Iran-Iraq war. And I thought it's actually a good question. That was one of my starting points when I started looking at this. As a nuclear physicist, I'm happy to answer what I understand about the nuclear program and where it fits in, but that's not the focus. You might say this is what it's being fought out over, and I'm trying to look into what's underneath, okay? So with this in mind, I want to consider first the political economic logic of the global petroleum system. Some of you are actually experts in this and know all about it, and other people perhaps don't know much about it or haven't put the pieces together. So forgive me if you know already a lot about it. Then I want to talk about Iran's place and then China's strategy in regard to this. So nowadays, we have a globalized system. We don't have the neo-colonial system anymore. We don't have the system that existed. Really, it was the nationalizations by OPEC in the 1970s that killed that old system. So in very rough, schematic cartoon drawing, that's the name of my book, One Global Barrel. If these are the producers and those are the consumers, here's how they communicate with each other nowadays, the first order, okay? You don't see these bilateral relations. You don't see the French extracting all the oil from Algeria or British Petroleum worried that something's going to happen in Iran and that's the end of their ability to supply Great Britain. Now it all gets essentially dumped into this barrel, which is actually what OPEC wanted to do. They wanted to get the international oil companies out of the way and actually sell it to the market and the market for the highest bidder. It's dumped in the barrel and it comes out to the consumers. And the barrel is dealt with in dollars, mainly in New York and London, and it's completely fungible. Just roughly, here's some idea of the old system. There were actually 7 international oil companies. They're not all there. But you'll notice there's sort of a bilateral aspect here. Producer, say it's Iran, say that's British Petroleum, say that's England. There's an aspect of bilateral dependencies. Sure, they sold to more than one country, but there's an aspect of it. There's an aspect of still left over of the old days of mercantilism in this. If Algeria was lost to France, and France was depending, it becomes a basket case, and everyone else has to, what do? They attack another great power to get their oil. It used to lead to wars, right? That kind of thing. I'm just reminding you, it's quite a different system. It's still oil, but it's quite a different system.